Hey everybody, this is a video about the skeletal system, the first body system that we're going to learn about in our human body systems unit in our mini med school. So here goes nothing. We're talking about bones here, and before you go underestimating how important the skeletal system is, there are some things that need to be known. It's more than just something that keeps us from being a little gross pile of organs and skin. So yeah, I guess that's pretty important right there, but it does go beyond that. The skeletal system, you might think of something as the thing that sticks around after we're gone and dead. Our bones seem to not decompose quite the same way as the rest of our bodies. So you might think of that too, and you might think, oh, it's the dead part of us, and you'd be wrong. The skeletal system is very much alive, as this freaky Frankenstein video will show you. Classy right there. Alright, so there are 206 bones in your body. Okay, 206 in the bodies of adults and you too. There are 32 alone in your teeth. You have 32 teeth. There are like 27 bones in each of your hands. There are 26 bones in each of your feet. There are even 8 bones in your skull that are fused together. We'll talk more about that later, but 8 bones consist of the skull, the thing that protects your brain. The smallest bones in your body include those inner ear bones that can help detect sound waves and send messages to the rest of your brain so that you can understand and comprehend what is being said. That's amazing. The longest bone is your femur, and that is shown over here on the right, not to scale, but yeah. Some people say I have the femurs of a 7-footer. Don't go around and staring at my femur bones or anything, but they are quite long. It's hard to find pants for Mr. Hoig in stores. That's why online shopping is the way to go. Okay, so 206 bones. You don't have to remember all of those bones by name or scientific name. I would like you to know 19 of them, and some of you are probably on to, or at least starting that process of memorizing the 19 really common bones that we should know about. Okay? Alright, as stated before, there are several jobs that the skeletal system is really important for. I think the first thing that you might think of is locomotion. We move because we have bones. We have the support there for movement with the cooperation of the muscular system and other systems too. But yeah, our ability to move around, run, dance, play video games, whatever it is, whatever kind of movement, it's likely due to, at least in part, to the skeletal system. And that might be the first thing that you think about with bones. It's not the only purpose. As you can see in the middle of this slide, making blood is a big deal that the skeletal system is actually in charge of. How does that work? So in the middle of long bones like your femur, there consists this red bone marrow. And that red bone marrow in different long bones of your body is in charge of repeatedly making every day, every second of the day, red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, just about anything that the blood consists of is made in bone marrow. I read a stat that said that there are 1 trillion, that's 1 with 12 zeros behind it, red blood cells made in the bone marrow of your bones every single day. So making blood, and it's kind of a strategic place to make it too. It's very protected in the middle of these long, strong bones. So that that makes sense too for us. So making blood is a big part of the skeletal system. And then, as you would maybe predict, on the right side of this slide shows bones that really protect some vital organs. Your brain being one of them. Your skull protects your brain and the other organs inside your head that are very important for your ability to function at all. So the skull is one. I think of rib cage as another that's really good for protecting some vital organs like your lungs and your heart and some components of your digestive system. So the skeletal system is not just about holding us up. It's doing other things too. All right, so this slide kind of shows what happens to your bones from the time that you're a child, a young child, to when you reach adulthood. And our bones generally will stop growing completely, at least, or in most cases, before the age of 25. As you can see in the lower left, this is Greta right there. That's my youngest. And her older sisters seem to run into her a lot. And she just falls down, bounces right back up. She's fine. It's like if I got pummeled to the ground like that much as a 34-year-old person, which I happen to be this year, I don't think I would get up so quickly. But child's bones are kind of built for falling down, and it's maybe a good metaphor. When you're first learning to do something, you do fall a lot, but we're built for that. But anyway, back to bones. Greta's bones and the bones of young children are generally made of more cartilage than bone. But as they grow and mature, there are certain bone cells called osteoblasts that are in charge of building bone. So eventually, that bone that was originally made for, or mostly cartilage, gradually transfer into what you see on the right side over here, where there's some compact and spongy bone that is actually bone tissue and bone cells. So it's a type of connective tissue. By adulthood, these osteoblasts, these cells, make bones that are made of calcium phosphate. That's why it's important for in our diets to have a decent amount of calcium to keep our bones strong, and then crystallized connective tissue. So that by the time you're an adult. The other thing to mention here is that bones don't stop building themselves up or tearing themselves down once you reach adulthood. There's another cell called osteoclasts, which are thought of as bone breakers. They break down bone or parts of bone that don't work anymore, and then osteoblasts are there as a kind of balanced deal that allows for that bone to be built up again. Some of you have probably had a broken bone before. I luckily, knocking on wood, have not, but osteoblasts build bone where there might be some damage there. And osteoclasts are really good at getting rid of the part of the bone that isn't as effective at doing its job anymore. All right, I mentioned what controls how much bones grow. That is the pituitary gland. The one thing I think of, little story time here, is it's actually, this gland is something that secretes hormones that controls these osteoblasts and tells the body when to grow, or these bones when to grow. I think of a story when I was going to basketball camp, probably your age. I was probably 5.5 feet tall, maybe. I was tall, but not all that tall. And I used to go to basketball camps in Rochester, and there would be another kid my age named Igor. He was from Russia, and he had a condition where his pituitary gland didn't really shut off. It continued to send the signal to his bones to grow, and he grew and grew and grew, and he was going to the Mayo Clinic so that he could control that, because if you grow too much, it's really not good or sustainable for your body, for your heart to keep up with that much growth. Igor, even in 5th and 6th grade, he was 6 feet 9 inches tall and growing fast. So it was quite a challenge. He was just a normal kid. He was really into trading baseball cards and basketball cards and football cards and stuff like that. But he was from Russia, and he was 6'9", probably at the age of 12. But yeah, his pituitary gland was kind of regulating that and kind of out of control. Luckily, he found some treatment, and I wonder where he's at now. But all right, the structure of bone. As you can see near the top here, part of the bone is called compact bone, and this is like 80% of the mass of any bone. It looks like it's a small part of these bones, but in actuality it holds 80% of the mass. It's really hard, compact, as the name would suggest. Spongy bone is the rest of it. It's a little more porous, meaning there's holes in it and stuff like that. It's lighter material, but that also is a big part of our bone. And then in the middle of bones, you can see on this one, it's yellow, and then in some cases red bone marrow, where hematopoiesis happens, which is really just blood production. On the bottom part of this slide, you can see that, and you don't have to remember these names, just for those of you who are interested. On each side there's an epiphysis, part of the bone that kind of shows where cartilage might be. That would be where it connects to other bones through ligaments, connecting bone to bone. But on each end there's an epiphysis, and then the middle of the bone is called the diaphysis. Now these structures right here, this is where the growth happens. So if the pituitary gland secretes a hormone that says grow bone, that's where the growth is going to happen. That's the growth plate, or the epiphyseal plate, and that's where our bones get longer until they get full grown. Alright, now there's a few types of joints that I should mention on this slide. Some of them are immovable joints, like in your skull. These are joints where bone meets bone and there's no movement involved. They're fixed in one place. There are many different types of movable joints in your body. Think of your knees, your shoulders, your hips, your wrists, your elbows. There's all different types. A ball and socket is your hip. There's a hinge joint at your elbow and knee. Plain joint down at your ankle. Ball and socket at your shoulder and your hip. But anyway, there's a lot of different kinds of places where bone comes together with another bone, and how they and those joints are how they move and how our bodies move. Other things to mention about the skeletal system, and this is the final slide. Things I want you to know about. So cartilage is dense connective tissue that provides smooth surface for movement at joints. Here you can see a couple different pieces of cartilage at your knee, but a hinge joint like your knee is going to want to have some cushioning where that movement is taking place, and cartilage does a great job of providing that cushion. Ligaments on the middle here are connective tissues that connect bone to bone. The example here is your hand, and there are many ligaments connecting the bones in your hand to other bones in your hand. You've probably heard of your ACL or your MCL. Those are both ligaments around your knee, holding the bones around your knee together. But ligaments connect bone to bone. The thing about tendons on the right is that that's the connective tissue that connects not bone to bone, but bone to muscle. And we'll learn more about the muscular system later, but for now, tendons should be known as those things that connect muscle to bone, to allow when this muscle contracts or shortens, it will move that bone down here with it, because the tendon is connecting that muscle to that bone. All right, I conclude with perhaps my favorite commercial of all time, and it's probably my girl's favorite commercial too. I don't know why, it's just struck me as being funny. The I Think I Ate the Bones commercial from KFC. Peace out.
Good call on the original recipe.
Yeah, good call.
Ah, love this stuff.
Yeah, totally. I kind of wolfed mine down. What's the matter?
I think I ate the bones. I think I ate the bones.
I ate the bones. I ate the bones.
Settle down.
I ate the bones.
KFC original recipe, now available without the bone. Freshly prepared white or dark meat chicken, boneless and skinless. Try 2 delicious mouth-watering pieces in a combo for only $4.99. Today tastes so good.